Why are horses so happy? Because they live in a very stable environment. Let's talk about it. On Sunday, we read a passage that I think could be the key to reversing the trend of decline in the church in America today. It's Philippians 4:8, and it says, "Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." And you may think, how am I supposed to do that? The world is a terrible place. How am I supposed to think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise? When you watch the news, a huge majority of the information that you see is negative. In fact, news networks now have started to put this little 2-minute segment at the end of their shows where they show something positive and happy or fun to watch. And they do this so that you'll think that they're balanced. But they aren't balanced because they just spent the first 58 minutes of the hour telling you how terrible the world is. And it's 24/7. It's all day long. And they're constantly looking for bad things to show you. The problem is that the world isn't terrible. I think the world is actually magnificent. The world is improving. The world is maturing and advancing. See, we fear terrorism, but that's because that's the worst thing that we think could happen to us. Because wars, they're going extinct. For most of human history, when a nation wanted to get land from another nation, what did they do? They killed people to take it away from them. Now land is acquired through purchases. The world is becoming a safer, healthier, wealthier, less violent, and even, I'll say it, yes, I think the world's even becoming less sinful. And most of you won't agree with me on that one. That's okay. We don't have to agree on this. But let me at least make my case. Let's talk about cable television. It makes sin look more frequent. But I think that the reporting of sin is actually evidence that it's in decline. The fact that we are aware of and even fighting against sinfulness around the world reveals that sin has now decreased to a level that we can actually comprehend it. Let's look at slavery, for example. It was an expected practice for most of history. Not now. Now, most of the world fights against people who want to legalize slavery. We've come together in alliance to fight against slavery. Those alliances of nations have held warlords and powerful thugs at bay. Violent gangsters and pirates, they still exist, but society has joined together to fight against them. It used to be that if someone wasn't hurting you, it really wasn't your concern. Now it has become normal for people to stand up for weak countries and weak people who can't stand up for themselves. Sexism and racism, they've declined at a rate never seen before in human history. And human rights violations are incredibly tame compared to the past. The authors of Scripture would be amazed to see the world that we live in today, because they lived in a world where the really crazy things like human sacrifice were legal. There were all kinds of sexual and violent pagan rituals in their day. Those things have all but disappeared, and worldwide crime rates are plummeting. That's not to say that we've arrived or that the world is perfect, but we are making progress. If you believe that God cares about poor people, you should be excited that extreme poverty is disappearing. If you believe God cares about poor people and people that are struggling, you should be excited that most of the world has food and water whenever they need it. I'm tempted to say that the greatest areas of sinfulness that the world allows today are abortion and sexual infidelity. So let's look at those sins. Even abortion rates in much of the world are declining. And sexual infidelity, it has been rampant throughout human history. This is not unique to the time that we live in. And get this, in much of the world, prostitution is now illegal. Historically speaking, that's amazing. That was just part of the culture for most of history. And that should encourage us, because when an increasing number of sins are outlawed at the same time that crime rates decrease, it shows that those sins are becoming more rare. I'm going to say that again. When a sin is outlawed at the same time that crime decreases, it shows that those sins are becoming more rare. And I'll admit it, this is a very difficult argument to make, because humans will always be sinful. There will always be sin that people can point to justify cynicism about the world. But you have to admit that the world is becoming less sinful in at least some of the areas that have brought so much pain to the world in the past. Okay, stop here. I wish I could hear your discussion about it. Have a discussion with your group about the first 3 questions, and then push play. So the news, it's all about murder, disease, terrorism, natural disasters, and corruption. And when you watch it, your brain very quickly begins to assume that the news is an accurate representation of the ratio of negative to positive things in the world. But that is just not the case. Have you ever heard of medical student syndrome? It's a real thing. Students in medical school start learning about all these diseases, and they actually start to self-diagnose. They think that they have the diseases that they're learning about, and they actually start exhibiting the symptoms of the diseases they're learning about. See, our thoughts affect our reality. It's not reality that shapes us. It's our worldview and our thoughts that shape our reality. Worldview is the lens through which we see all of the world. And if you can change your worldview, you can actually change the outcomes of your life. See, we're in the habit of looking at a person's situation to determine if they're happy or not. We see someone who's rich and we assume that they have it all together. We see someone who has a lot of children and we assume that they're happy with their life. We see someone who has a great job and we assume that they enjoy their life. But our situations don't make us happy. Every time your brain has a success, you change the goalpost of what success looks like. Maybe you got good grades. Now you have to get better grades to feel happiness. You golfed an 85. Now you have to golf an 80 before you'll be satisfied. You caught a 5-pound bass. Now you won't be happy until you catch the 6-pound bass. You hit your sales target. Now you just change your sales target and make it harder. If happiness is always on the other side of success, you will never be happy. Happiness has to come first. And that means you have to set your mind on things that are good and worthy of praise, even before you're successful. It's almost like the Apostle Paul knew what he was talking about. And when your brain is positive, when it's focusing on good things, it actually performs better than it does when it's negative. When you're thinking about good things, your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy goes up, and you're better at everything you do when you're positive. So can I give you some homework? Researchers have found that there are actually ways to train your brain to be more positive. Here are some examples of brain training methods that psychologists give. One of them is write down 3 new things that you are grateful for every day for 21 days. It will help you look for positive things that you can focus on in the world. The second one is journal about 1 good thing that happened to you in a day every day for 21 days. It will help you to relive positive experiences rather than move on to future problems that need to be solved. Another is exercise every day for 21 days. That will teach your brain that your behavior actually matters and can affect your world. Another is meditate every day for 21 days. It will help you get past this cultural ADHD of multitasking that we do all the time. Another is send a thank you card to different people every day for 21 days. You'll start to realize how many things in your life that you have to be thankful for and how many people that you have to be thankful to. Would you pick one of these 5 things and do it for 21 days? It will help you to be more positive. It will help you to be more successful. And it will help you to become who you were created to be. Stop here, answer the last 3 questions, then I'll see you Sunday in church.